You're listening to the Live Free podcast. I'm your host, Christine, certified life coach, pain to power mentor, and creator of Embody You Mindset Mastery School. I'm here today to discuss living life after disease, disaster, or adversity, to discuss living life fully once again. A life of hope, peace, and resiliency. A life fully embodied. I utilize the lessons that I learned going through not one, but two primary cancers. I'm here today to guide you to the life of your dreams, turn your pain into power, and lead you back to yourself. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Live Free podcast. Today we have Jessica on the podcast. Jessica is an advocate for your medical health, for self-breast exams, for really knowing your body and having your health at the forefront of your mind. Jessica is so powerful. She has done such big things in the cancer world, and I'm absolutely honored to have her on the podcast. You're going to love her episode and get so much from it, whether you are a cancer survivor in your stage of survivorship, or if you are just a general public gal and wondering about your mental health, your physical health, and your breast health. So I highly recommend taking a listen to this excellent episode. Thanks so much, Jessica, for being on, and let's get started. Hello, Jessica. I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you so much for being part of the podcast. Let's get started with your diagnosis and your story.
Sure. So I am from Nashville, Tennessee, and I was diagnosed with stage 2B invasive ductal carcinoma, the fancy way of saying breast cancer. Um, I went through 16 rounds of chemotherapy. I had 24 rounds of radiation, a double mastectomy, a hysterectomy, and I did the 10-hour flap reconstruction, deep flap, where you may be familiar, fat tissue blood vessels from my stomach into my chest. I have this little inside joke sometimes with my husband. I will grab my chest and say, "Oh, my stomach hurts today." And so, yeah, we make jokes about it, but I am proud to say that I'm a 5-year breast cancer survivor now, thriving in life and hoping to give a hope, a glimmer of inspiration to someone who may be going through that right now.
Excellent, Jessica. You are a shining example of just positivity and brightness. I love it. At the moment I saw your page on Instagram, I was like, this girl's got to be on the podcast. Um, and I love how you are making jokes and bringing all of that to light because the experience you went through was really tough. Like you just breezed through it like it was nothing. But it wasn't, right? And it was so much that you went through. 5 years is such an example of tenacity, and you were feeling so good. And yeah, congratulations to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. Well, it all started with a self-exam and advocating for myself, knowing how to use my voice to get the diagnosis because I was 33 at the time. And where I live, in the US, screenings are recommended for women 40 and above. So I really had to speak up and, tell my story and compel my medical providers at that time to get me the screen to give me the proper diagnosis.
Wow. Okay. So were you doing self-breast exams at the age of 33? Was that something you were cognizant of?
Yes, I actually started doing self-breast exams at 18 years old. I had a benign tumor that I found during my freshman year in college, and it was an accident. I went to the the clinic on campus and they referred me for screening. I had a growing benign tumor called a fibroadenoma. It's something that's very common in women of menstruating ages. And because it was growing, they wanted to remove it. And so I had a lumpectomy at
Relax.
18, and it was that experience that put me in the habit of a monthly self-exam routine. So I had been doing self-exams from 18 to 33 regularly. And it was that experience that helped me find the malignant lump in my breast 15 years later.
Wow. Okay. So like so many of us, it started with an accidental find that brought you to a system of checking your breast. And is that once a month that you were doing it?
Yep, at the time, I was doing it once a month right after my menstrual cycle. Mhm.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And so you found out right away as soon as you started to feel a lump. It was quite, I'm sure small at that point and you noticed. Is that right?
Yeah, so it was 2018. I remember I did a self-exam in January, February, and then March, I actually skipped it. I had just turned 33. It was time for my well woman's exam. I was going to see my provider, and I thought, well, I'm going to skip it this month because I'm sure she will be very thorough and she'll let me know if there's anything wrong. And so I went to the appointment. She did a clinical exam of my breast where she checked both sides, and she didn't say anything to me. And I thought, she's like, all right, get dressed. You're fine. See you next year. I thought, great. 2 days later, I was taking a shower and it was the end of my menstrual cycle. And I thought, well, I just went to the doctor, but this is part of my routine. So I guess I'm just going to go ahead and do my exam. The right side, everything was okay. I went over the left side, and if you start at the top of your breast and you go around clockwise, I got to about the 2, 3 o'clock position and I felt a lump. And I thought, oh my God, this cancer? And I thought, no, 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 no. I'm in the best shape of my life. Cancer only runs on my dad's side of the family. My mom's side of the family is fine. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I'm not a prude. I'm a cheap date. But I also had just gone to the doctor and I said to myself, she didn't say anything about this lump. She would have told me about this. I'm sure I'm fine. And when I got out of the shower, I went straight to Dr. Google to confirm and thought, okay, well, I don't have any dimpling, no puckering, no bleeding, no discharge from my nipple. I'm fine. Okay, because I don't have any of that. It's just a lump and the doctor wasn't concerned. I'm probably fine. And that was March of 2018. I finally got a proper diagnosis in August of 20. I'm sorry, yeah, August of 2018. It was March 2018 and August 2018 whenever I got a proper diagnosis.
That's a long time to have to wait and wonder, and that's a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you had to really prompt your team, you said. You had to really kind of fight for that scan.
Yeah, so I remember it that summer, I'd gone all spring, all summer, and I just noticed I was getting tired all the time. And I had never been in my 30s before. Here I am 33, I'm 30 something. And I noticed I was taking long naps in the middle of the day and waking up very groggy. I worked from home, I had the flexibility to do that, but I just could not keep my eyes open and I just wanted to sleep all the time. And I woke up one day and I saw a Snapchat story of a woman I had met at my sister's wedding, and she was shaving her head. And I text my sister, I said, "Why is so and so shaving her head?" And my sister said, "Oh, she's getting ready to start chemotherapy for breast cancer." And I thought, "Oh my God, she's a year older than I am. I need to get myself back to the doctor." Went back to the doctor, had to put up a fight to get screened. It was not a good experience. Basically treating me like I was crazy, like I didn't know what I was talking about. And I found out later that they were trying to hide the fact that they marked my chart as normal when the doctor did find the breast lump in March during my well woman's exam. She marked it as normal because she thought I was too young for cancer and that it was probably nothing, just something hormonal. And there was an exchange of words between me and the medical staff there. And again, I finally got the screening that that was warranted for my situation. After talking to a few medical professionals there, and then seeing a practitioner who finally did, who seemed to have logic for that situation. She did finally refer me for a screening, and I was again diagnosed with stage 2B. The tumor was it was 4.2 centimeters, and I had two diseased lymph nodes. So thank God, I am a person of faith that, just using my voice and doing self exams is how I got the proper diagnosis before it had metastasized even further.
Absolutely. Oh, I just think back to when I was first diagnosed and how, like myself, I wasn't doing breast exams. I knew, like, I really did not think it was going to be a problem. And for me, it was an accidental find. And so in the accidental find world, by the time that I found it, it was very clearly something, and so like, and just like you found it at a point where it might have been a 1C or a 2A or something like that, but you had to wait and wait and wait, in order to get there. And they found mine. I think they speculated like between 3A and 3C. I'm not sure which one it was, but it was pretty far along.
Mm.
And I remember feeling like I was bothering my doctor even then when it was so large and it was noticeable. She was kind of like, it's probably nothing, but if you want, I can get you an ultrasound. And I had to opt for that. And so it's so frustrating that we're not getting the care at these young ages, because I was 31. And yeah, and so, like, we miss we're missing these opportunities for us to be, diagnosed, because 1, we're not taught to self-exam, and 2, we're not, really respected when we ask for additional screening.
Right. I have insight into that, but one of the things that I do talk about is medical gaslighting. Whenever someone is uncomfortable with your situation because they don't have the answer, or, so they project shame to make you feel a certain way. So you'll be quiet to appease how they're feeling. They're uncomfortable with your situation in some way. So they just want to stop and, yield your voice from saying anything else in those situations. And I'm glad you were able to get that ultrasound, but it sounds like the medical provider said, well, if you want, I guess you can do this. But, that kind of projection of shame is not helpful to anyone in any situation where screening would be warranted for a diagnosis.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, and so that brings me into, the question of how you turned your pain into purpose, because your story is just so exciting. It is such a powerful thing that you have done with your diagnosis, with everything that you went through. What did you move on to do, Jessica?
So after my diagnosis, when I was losing my hair, I thought, well, I'm not going to be living under a rock for the duration of my cancer journey. I came out to my friends. I said, hey, I know, millennials, we're young. We're at the peak of our lives right now in our early 30s. We're progressing in our careers and with our families. Well, mine just kind of came to a halt because I've been diagnosed with breast cancer, and everyone was shocked. And they came to me and they said, how did you even know to get diagnosed? And I said, well, I do my monthly self exams, don't you? And it was crickets. It was silent. And I thought, oh, wow, this is a problem. And through talking with my friends and just exploring different parts of the internet, I narrowed it down to 3 reasons why women weren't doing exams. And it was 1, no one had ever taught them. I learned that information about self exams had been suppressed for about 8 years at that point. And I can elaborate further on that to dig into why that is a bit later. But number 2, they were
They
ashamed
were
of their bodies. and they didn't feel comfortable touching themselves. And number three, they didn't know what to do if they found a lump because they were scared because they were either uninsured or underinsured. And I won't get into that issue in the United States. We'll be here all day. But
Fair.
so, they just thought, out of sight, out of mind. If I don't feel anything, there's nothing wrong. And just kind of going on their own biases of like, I'm healthy, I'm young, nothing, I'm still invincible, nothing can happen to me. And so I found those were the three main reasons why women weren't doing self-exams and why they even struggled to, go to the doctor, make those medical appointments, and just be seen, heard, and understood in their health care. And so I created Feel for Your Life. I was in the shower and literally, watching my life, my hair fall down the drain. And the shower was a place where I had always performed my self exams. So Feel for Your Life came to me naturally. I had a little bit of a background in journalism, marketing, and psychology. So I jumped out of the shower immediately and I ran to see if if the URL Feel for Your Life was available. It was. I purchased it immediately. I reserved all of the social handles. And then within a couple weeks, I said, this is a little platform where I'm going to talk about self-exams and share my cancer progress and my story. Come one, come all, let's, educate people about their bodies and their advocacy so that they can have improved outcomes for their healthcare. And it was just kind of like my small piece of what I was going to do with my journey. And then when COVID hit, I found out women were missing their screenings. They were being diagnosed at later stages. And I thought, I need to do something about this. A self-exam saved my life. I need to tell more women about this. And so, while my friends were baking bread and collecting plants, I thought, I'm going to learn how to build an app. I had a little bit of a technology background, a little bit of experience. A lot of people think building an app is just putting a website online and making it mobile friendly, but it's so much more than that. And I
Oh, I
connected
believe it.
yeah, I connected with a gentleman who gave me the platform, and I taught myself how to use that platform and launched the app in the fall of 2021, where it went viral and blew up, and it's now saving lives all over the world.
Wow. Wow, 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 Jessica. That is, yes, good, amazing. You took your journey and you said, hey, I'm going to save people's lives, and you're doing it. And my favorite part is it went viral and I'm saving people from all over the world.
Yeah.
That's so cool. How does that feel?
It's an honor and a privilege that women have trusted me with their advocacy. There's a woman in California. This is my favorite story, but I hear from women who say, I'm getting my mammograms because of you. I'm doing self-exams because of you. I'm talking to my medical provider about my genetic disposition and my breast density because of you and what I've learned from you. And again, it's just an honor and a privilege to hear that. But my favorite story is from a woman in California who had breast cancer, and she found no one had told her how to do a self-exam after cancer and how to monitor herself. She learned about my app, she downloaded it and performed a self-exam, found a lump, and it was an early local reoccurrence. And I I mean, of course, her medical team's doing a lot of the work, but, I'd like to think I played a small role in helping her get an early diagnosis so she has more treatment options available to her. And women like her and the women I hear from all the time are why I do what I do, and that keeps me going.
Wow. Uh, what a beautiful story. And so many beautiful stories, I'm sure, flood your inbox every day. Like that is amazing. And and we need to continue to spread the word about this because I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think the reason that I wasn't doing self-breast exams is yes, number one, I wasn't taught. Number two, I was ashamed. And number three, I didn't really know how was, I guess, my third. What are you really doing other than groping or grabbing, right? Like I didn't understand. And so it just wasn't something that was at all in my repertoire. And so yes, you're absolutely right. It does begin to um, take on a life of its own when women are empowered, when they know how, when they understand. And that's when people start to catch these things and know, because the feeling of my lump was irrefutable. It was cancer, and if I was empowered to check for lumps, whatever it was, 8 months prior, I would have felt small lump. But no, I was not concerned or trying. And therefore, like you said, all the experiences you went through with 2B, once you have lymph node involvement, you've got chemo, you've got, like there's no chance of not getting chemo. There's radiation, you don't get the choice at that point. But if you're checking, if you're looking into this, you have an opportunity to potentially maybe choose. Maybe you only have to do radiation and surgery because you caught it in time. And that's what so many women, when they're saying, as long as, it's not seen and not heard, it's the opposite. The more you see, the more you hear, the more choices you have.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you emphasize that because it is so true.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that is just amazing. Okay, well, all right. And I think I know the answer to this. I'm going to be linking all of your social medias, your application. We need to link that. Very important. And getting this out as much as possible. But what is one single piece of advice that you would give a woman who is um, who is just moving through life in her 30s? She's doing her thing, and something that you could give her to walk away from.
I'm going to say there are 5 important things you can do to advocate for your breast health. And number 1, find a great doctor who will advocate with you. Think of your health goals and the person that you need in the medical profession who has the competency traits and the character traits to help you meet those goals. Number 2, do your self exams. I show you how to do that in the Feel for Your Life app, which is in the Apple Store and the Google Play Store, and also at feelforyourlife.com. Number 3, get screened, advocate for your screenings. Screenings in the United States start at 40. I think I just read something recently. It came from a publication out of Ontario, and the headline said, screenings are now available in Ontario for women at age 40. I guess the previous age was 50.
Yes.
Not sure if that's going to spread across the rest of Canada, but I think that is something to definitely keep your eye on for sure. And under number 4, understand your breast density. If you know your breast density, you understand what your breast cancer risk may be and the type of screening that you need to advocate for, because dense breasts on a mammogram can hide lumps, bumps, and abnormalities. So you want to have an understanding of your breast density, and you do that by first getting a mammogram and having a conversation with your doctor to see if ultrasounds and MRIs may be better suited for you. And number 5, understand your genetic disposition to cancer. I was the 4th generation on my dad's side of the family to be diagnosed with cancer. We have no known gene mutation. I am BRCA negative. I'm CHEK2 negative. I'm PALB negative. Everything has come back negative for me in my genetic testing, and other women in my family who have been tested. 14 women altogether in my family who, on my dad's side, have had breast cancer, and all of their genetic testing also comes back negative. But we also, I say cancer doesn't just run in my family, it sprints. There's lung cancer, there's pancreatic cancer, there's prostate cancer, there's leukemia. I've learned over time, and melanoma, prostate cancer, pancreatic cancer, there are links to those and correlations between those and breast cancer. So when you talk to your medical provider about your family history of cancer, let them know about all the disease so they can properly assess your risk for breast cancer so that you can create an advocacy plan that's right for you. So those are 5 things that I would leave a woman with right now.
Excellent advice. Excellent advice. Well, thank you so much again, Jessica, for coming, for sharing with us your story and how you truly turned your pain to purpose. Because so many survivors are really barely surviving right now. And I think that when we turn our pain into purpose, we truly enter the realm of thriving. And I see that in you.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you had me today. I hope this, equips, educates, and empowers a woman to take charge of her breast health. So again, thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening. If you found expansion with this last episode, then that means that others will too. And the best way to get the word out about the podcast is by leaving a review. I would be so grateful if you could leave me a review and let me know how you felt about the podcast. Included in the show notes will be everything that we talked about today, including all of my transformative programs. Change is just on the horizon, my friend.